Okay, this is chapter 2, solving equations, and we are solving one-step equations in lesson 2.1. All right. So our warm-up was to find the solution for each of those. We're going to go over how we're going to do the warm-up in the next slide. So I'm going to skip this one. So we have the addition property of equality. So what the addition property of equality says that you can add to both sides and keep the equality. Okay, so for example, we've got x minus 3 equals 2 over here. And what the addition property of equality states is we can write it as x minus 3 plus 3 equals 2 plus 3 on the right. So all I did here was I added 3 using blue to both the left and the right sides. So now what our equation becomes is this minus 3 plus 3 will become 0. So x plus 0 equals 2 plus 3, which is 5. So now we know x equals 5. All right. Then there's also the subtraction property of equality. So the subtraction property of equality says that we can subtract from both sides and keep equality. Okay, so if we subtract something from one side, we must subtract it from the other in order to keep the equality of the equation. So if we have x plus 3, we're going to go ahead and subtract 3 from the left side and take that 2, subtract 3 from there as well. Once we do this, we get x plus 3 minus 3 gives us plus 0 equals 2 minus 3, which is negative 1. So x equals negative 1. All right. So we've got some problems here that we're going to go over. We've got x plus 13 equals 27 and y plus 2 equals negative 6. Let's take care of this x plus 13 equals 27. So again, when we are trying to solve these equations, we want to look at the side with the variable, okay? And that would be the left side in this case. And what we want to do is we want to isolate that variable. So we're getting the variable alone. In this case, it's x. In order to get x alone, we have to do the opposite operation that we see. I see a plus sign, so I know I'm going to subtract. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract this 13 from both sides. When we do that, we're going to be left with x equals, and then these will cancel. You should always cancel something. And then 27 minus 13 will give us 14. So x equals 14. Now with this y, same thing, guys. So we've got y plus 2 equals negative 6. The opposite of addition is that subtraction, so we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. These will cancel, so we're left with y equals, that's a very bad y equals, negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. Okay, this is the same as negative 6 plus negative 2, which is negative 8. All right, and next slide. So now we've got some subtraction. So remember, when we are looking at these equations, these single step equations, find the side with the variable. That would be our right side in this case because it has the b. Okay, now when we see the b, we see minus 3. We're going to go ahead and add 3 to both sides because we want to do the opposite, so something will cancel. And what we're left with is negative 4 equals b, because negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. All right, let's move over to this right side of this one. So we've got m minus 8 equals negative 14. We're going to go ahead and add 8 to both sides. That way these cancel, so we get m equals 14. Negative 14 plus 8 will give us negative 6. Awesome. Multiplication and division properties of equality. So just like how we were canceling something out on the side with the variable, with addition and subtraction, we need to do the same with multiplication and division. Okay, So when we are looking at problems like this, I see x divided by 3 equals 2, okay? So this fraction bar, you should always view it as x divided by 3 equals 2. That way you know you have to do the opposite, which is multiply, okay? So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. So x divided by 3, oops, that's not how you write that, divided by 3, and then we're going to multiply by 3 equals, and 2 times 3. So we multiplied by 3 to both sides. Once we've done that, these are going to cancel. We're going to be left with x equals 6. Okay? Now, from here on out, how I'm going to write this is it's going to be x over 3 equals 2. I'm just going to go ahead and put this x over 3 in parentheses and put times 3 out here. Because we all know that x over 3, written as a fraction right here, should just be x divided by 3. So I'm just going to multiply. That way they cancel like this. Okay, so we've got x over 3 equals 2. That's the same problem. Okay, so that was actually a duplicate. You can go ahead and cross that out. And we've got 5x equals 20. Now, we have 5x. The sign here is multiplication. This is the same as 5 times x equals 20. So in order to get rid of that multiplication, we have to divide both sides by 5. The reason we're dividing by 5 is so that this side cancels, so we're left with x alone. And that's going to be equal to 20 divided by 5, which is 4. All right, 4x equals 6.4. So what we're going to do here is we are going to divide both sides. We're picking division because 4 and x next to each other means 4 times x, so we have to divide. And 4x divided by 4, we'll have these cancel, so we're going to do that. So x equals, and 6.4, let's do some long division so we're getting used to this. So it goes into 6 one time. So we're going to subtract 4, we'll be left over with 2. And then it goes into, we're going to bring down this 4. And then 4 goes into 24 6 times. So we're going to subtract 24, which gives us 0. And all we're going to do is move that decimal up, so it's 1.6. All right, and then the next one. So we've got negative 3.2z equals 14. Let's go ahead and divide by negative 3.2, divide by negative 3.2. These will cancel, so we're left with z equals. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do 3.2 goes into 14. How many times? So what we're going to do is we're going to move this decimal place over, and then we're going to add a 0 here. So it's actually going to turn into 32 going into 140, which will give us the same answer. So 32, can it go into 1? No. Can it go into 14? No. Can it go into 140? It can. It can go in 4 times. So 4 times 32, we can do that over here. 32 times 4 should give us 8. 3 times 4 is 12, so 128. Subtract 128. We're going to borrow from here, 3. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. So we're going to get 12 left over. Bring over a 0. Our decimal moves up. So it goes into 120. Well, 4 times was 128, so we're going to go down 1. 3 times, so this is going to be 32 times 3 should give us 96. And this will give us 24. Okay, and I'm not going to go on, so we're going to say it's about 4.3. All right. Next. Okay, so we've got x divided by 4 equals negative 9, and we've got x divided by negative 9 equals 8. So these are examples of where we need to multiply. So we're going to draw parentheses or brackets around this x over 4, multiply by 4. Same thing with the negative 9, we're going to multiply by 4. These 4's cancel, we're left with x equals negative 9 times 4 is negative 36, so that is our answer. And for this one, for x divided by negative 9 equals 8, well, we want to get the x alone, and the number next to the x is divided by negative 9, so we're going to multiply by negative 9. What we have to do to that side, we have to do to the other. So let's multiply them. These cancel, x becomes alone, and we've got 8 times negative 9, which is negative 72. All right, you guys should be getting the hang of this, okay? None of these should be surprising to you guys. All right, solve equations using reciprocals. So a reciprocal is just flipping the fraction. Go ahead and draw this image where we have two numbers and we're just flipping the fraction, okay? That is what we call a reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 4 over 5, it will turn into 5 over 4, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply by 5 over 4, and I'll show you guys why we're doing that. So we multiply by 5 over 4 because the 5 will cancel with this 5 and the 4 will cancel with this 4. From here, all we're left with on this left side of the equation is m. So now m is equal to 28 over 1. All I did was I put the 28 as a fraction, and you can put any number over 1 and it stays the same, and we're multiplying that by 5 over 4. Remember guys, whenever we are multiplying fractions, you want to simplify before you multiply, okay? So 28 is actually divisible by 4, and it goes in 7 times, so this will become 7, this will become 1, and what you're left with is m equals 7 times 5 over 1 times 1, which is just 35 over 1, or 35. All right. And I kind of went into the next section, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this over here. 12 equals 3 over 4x. With this one, we need to multiply. The reciprocal of 3 over 4 is just 4 over 3. Okay? This will cancel, this will cancel, this will cancel, this will cancel. So x is the only thing left on the right side of the equation. Now we have to do 4 over 3 times 12 over 1. This cancels with this. This becomes a 1. 12 is divisible by 3 4 times. So we've got 4 times 4 on the top, 1 times 1 on the bottom. That gives us 16 equals x. All right. We are doing a lot of examples today, guys. So for this problem, technically you could view this as 1 over 4 times x. Okay, equals negative 9. Now, we've got a reciprocal, so the reverse of 1 over 4 would be 4 over 1, okay? Which these cancel, so we're left with x, okay? This is just an example where normally we would multiply both sides by 4 because we saw it's x divided by 4. I changed it into a reciprocal so you guys can see that how it works both ways, okay? So x is going to equal negative 9 times 4 over 1, which is just negative 36. All right, and then x divided by negative 9 equals 8. We have done that one on our previous slide. You should have gotten that x is equal to negative 72. All right, using one-step equations to model a problem. Okay, so for this one, the main thing here is that you have to identify a variable. Okay, so let's read the question first. Toucans and blue and yellow macaws are both tropical birds. The length of an average toucan is about 2/3 of the length of an average blue and yellow macaw. Toucans are about 24 inches long. What is the length of an average blue and yellow macaw? So, very first thing that we should do is we should take out our highlighter, and what we're going to do is we're going to highlight what the question is asking for. It wants us to know what is the length of an average blue and yellow macaw. And what we're going to do with that highlight is we're going to label it a variable. We're going to label it x in our case. So x is the length of an average blue, yellow macaw. All right, and let's read the rest of this. Now let's find out what the word problem gave us in terms of facts. So the length of an average toucan is about 2/3 the length of an average blue and yellow macaw. Okay, so 2/3 the length of the average blue and yellow macaw. Well, the length of the average blue yellow macaw is x. Okay, we just identified that. So we can start our equation with 2/3x is equal to the length of an average toucan. And do we know the length of the toucan? We absolutely do. It tells us toucans are about 24 inches long. So we substitute that in for this part of our equation. We get 2/3x equals 24. Now this is an equation that we know how to solve. We have to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3/2. Cancel, 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 cancel. Multiply by 3/2. We get x equals 24 times 24/1 times 3/2. Before we multiply, let's cancel. This becomes 12, this becomes 1. So we're left with 12 times 3, which is 36/1, or 36. And that is inches long. So our average, the length of an average blue and yellow macaw is 36 inches long. Guys, the key here is that blue highlighted section. You must identify a variable, and in our case we identified x as the length of an average blue yellow macaw. All right, so now we got some practice. So for this one, pretty standard, we're just gonna subtract by 7 to both sides, subtract by 7. We're gonna be left with x, that was really bad, x equals 3 minus 7 is -4. Next one, 9 equals m minus 4. 9 plus 4 equals m minus 4 plus 4. All we do is add 4 to both sides. We get 13 equals m. And number 3, we've got 5 times y equals 24. We can divide both sides by 5. These will cancel. Y is going to be equal to 24 divided by 5 will give us, 5 cannot go into 2, but it can go into 24. It can go in 4 times. Let's take away the 20. We get our leftover with 4. And from here, we're gonna bring down a 0. Bring up our decimal. So 5 goes into 40 8 times. Take away 40, we're left with 0. So it is 4.8. All right, practice 4. You have already read 117 pages of a book. You are 1/3 of the way through the book. Write and solve an equation to find the number of pages in the book. So very first thing we need to do, guys, is we need to highlight what we're looking for. We want to find the number of pages in the book. Number of pages in the book, we're gonna label x. You could have picked any variable. You could have picked b, you could have picked n, anything. So x will represent number of pages in the book. Okay, now that we've identified that x is the number of pages in the book, it says that we've already read 117 pages of the book. You are 1/3 of the way through the book. So if we take 1/3 times the total number of pages in the book, that should be equal to the pages we've already read, which is 117. Okay? We can multiply both sides by 3/1. These will cancel, so x equals 117 times 3 gives us 300 and, let's just write it out. 21, bring up the 2. 3 times 1 is 3. Add 2 to that, you get 5. 3 times 1 is 3, so 351. So it's a 351 page book. All right. And exit ticket. So write a one-step equation, then write two equations that are equivalent to your equation. How can you prove that all three equations are equivalent? Let's just write x minus 4 equals 9. Okay? We can rewrite this as x minus 4, let's add 3, equals 9. We can add 3 to this side. Then we can do x minus 4. We can multiply both sides by 2. Okay, anytime guys that you guys are doing a property or something to both sides of the equation, they're going to be equivalent, okay? How can you prove that all three equations are equivalent? Well, if we were to divide both sides by something, it's based on the laws of equality that we just went over. So in the beginning, we were talking about addition. If you add to both sides, you maintain equality. If you divide or multiply by both sides, you maintain equality, okay? And lastly, here's the homework pages. All right, good luck.